Hello my dear people. Today I want to read for you a little from our book God's Energy Brain, Diary 1. Gisela, Heisel and Hans Polrich have written this book for you. This book is an e-book, is as an e-book and as a pocketbook for very low prices available at Amazon. God's Energy Brain. We all are one in God's immense energy brain. Inside is God's energy brain like a bright shining light bread. Outside is God's sweet energy brain like red hot lava. You are a spark of thought in God's eternal sweet energy brain. You are like an energetic nerve cell in God's energy brain. In God's sweet energy brain, you are His eternal thought spark. Inside is God's energy brain like bright beaming plexus. Reach God's energy brain in not singing meditative silence of thoughts. By unsinging devotion, you will reach God's energy brain. God's energy brain you can learn in unsinging silent spirit. The human brain is a reflection of God's energy brain. Clouds are like the light masses in God's sweet energy brain. People are like the nerve cells in God's eternal energy brain. Rivers are like the energy turns in God's ecstatic energy brain. Trees are like the energy ramifications in God's sweet energy brain. Enjoy sweet wonders in God's parallel eternal energy brain. We all are one in God's infinite eternal energy brain. To be in God's energy brain is like continuous prayer. God's energy brain gives the healing energies. Always and everywhere observe God's eternal energy brain. Every day make God's energy brain much joy. God's energy brain gives the moving highest energies. God's energy brain gives the unmoved highest energies. Please God's energy brain for the grace of eternal peace. Please God's energy brain for the grace of eternal bliss. Energetically, you are always in God's ecstatic energy brain. Energetically is God's energy brain always in you. God's energy brain is permeated with radiant bliss. God's energy brain works mysteriously through the people and through the nature and through the whole universe. Only the self without thoughts find access in God's eternal energy brain. Only the self without thoughts enters God's energy brain. Your most important task is to seek God's energy brain. You are in God's energy brain as an eternal energetic brain nerve cell. And God's energy brain is in you as highest parallel energies. Only God's omnipotent energy brain can afford real help. Only God's energy brain knows past, present and future. Your own desire to help is often just pure selfishness. All happiness comes from God's parallel eternal energy brain. Daily serve ruefully God's ecstatic energy brain. God's energy brain has sought your magnificent energy soul. Let's sing for you God's omnipotent energy brain. Become one with God's eternal ecstatic energy brain. Experience daily the energy bliss of God's energy brain. Without God's energy brain, there is no free ego will. Love very much God's parallel ecstatic sweet energy brain. Only unthinking meditative silence reaches God's energy brain. From God's sweet energy brain is all being and becoming arises. Only the empty spirit enters God's infinite energy brain. Listen to the promotings of God's omniscient energy brain. God's parallel energy brain has created all being. God's energy brain is the eternal energetic infinity. Your free ego will is given to you by God's energy brain. Everything comes from God's eternal immeasurable energy brain. God's energy brain is eternally energetic happiness. God's energy brain is the absolute energetic happiness. Immensely is God's energetic happiness consciousness. God's energy brain is the most scarred energetic glory. From God's energy brain is the highest divine will. Eternal energetic peace resides in God's energy brain. God's energy brain plays the hidden love-making. All being and all becoming is an energy play in God's energy brain. God's energy brain is being and consciousness and bliss. Reach God's energy brain in not thinking, meditative silence of thoughts. Breath in God's eternal, blissful energy brain. From God's energy brain flows out the eternal sweet peace. God's energy brain spreads constantly blissful energy gifts. God's energy brain brings peace to your thoughts and to your feelings. God's energy brain is an ever uninvolved witness. God's energy brain gives the eternal truth and the eternal wisdom. Only in unthinking silence will you reach God's energy brain and show in wonderful inner silence God's energy brain. Please God's energy brain to His energetic grace. In God's energy brain you are God at the same time and I. I is God in God's eternal energy brain. God is your I in His infinite energy brain. God loves God in God's eternal energy brain. Let thoughts from God's energy brain will own thoughts. Let act through you God's omniscient energy brain. Let think for you God's omniscient energy brain. There's nothing that God's energy brain could not accomplish. Let God's energy brain give to you all-encompassing love and happiness. Only in mental silence you can find God's eternal energy brain. God's energy brain needs the empty of your mind. Consider God's energy brain firmly with your empty mind. God's energy brain needs detachment from the material world. God's energy brain is pure being, pure consciousness, and pure bliss. Let God's energy brain hear through you. Unthinking meditative silence takes you into God's energy brain. Let God's omniscient energy brain think for you. Feel you deep into God's ecstatic energy brain. Let you sincerely love from God's enormous energy brain. See with your energetic eyes God's energy brain. Open your mind for the thoughts out of God's energy brain. Let God's omniscient energy brain think for you. Be in God's energy brain the eternal energetic high self. Let God's omnipotent energy brain act through you. Let God's omniscient energy brain think through you. See in God's energy brain God's eternally radiant awareness. Feel in God's energy brain God's infinite light masses. With your high self, rest in God's ecstatic energy brain. Forever rest in the happiness awareness of God's energy brain. Over your spiritual heart, reach God's sweet energy brain. God's energy brain is filled with eternally radiant awareness. God's energy brain is full of blissful light masses. Become energetically completely one with God's energy brain. Love very much God's super brain for most immense energies. Take a deep breath of God's sweet ecstatic energy brain. Breathe out deeply God's sweet ecstatic energy brain. Become a humble servant of God's almighty energy brain. Become all-encompassing love for God's sweet energy brain. God's energy brain gives you the eternal energetic peace. Be one with God's eternal ecstatic energy brain. God's energy brain is the eternal sweet bliss. God's energy brain is the eternal energetic organ. God's energy brain is the eternal untouchable witness. God's energy brain is the eternal truth and the eternal wisdom. God's energy brain is the eternal sweet peace. God's energy brain is eternal all-encompassing love. God's energy brain is the eternal blissful energy life. God's energy brain is the eternal highest energetic God. God's energy brain gives eternal satisfaction and everlasting peace. In God's energy brain you are freed from all earthly desires. In God's energy brain you are renunciation and absolute equanimity. In God's energy brain you are absolute devotion and eternal peace. In God's energy brain you are sweet eternal bliss. Only God can afford the very best energetic and secular act. In God's energy brain you will be exempt from all negative karma. About mental emptiness you will gain access into God's energy brain. In God's energy brain ends your own thought processes. In God's energy brain you are just pure bliss. In God's energy brain you are reduced little energy God. In God's energy brain you are positive self as a very little energy God. In God's energy brain, as His thought sparks, you become a small God. In God's energy brain you are part of God's energetic glory. In God's energy brain you are an energy piece of everything. In God's energy brain you are energetically God as I. In God's energy brain you are in eternal bliss consciousness. You yourself are energetically God in God's energy brain. The meditative empty revealed to you God's energy brain. God's energy brain you reach through your spiritual art. God's energy brain you enter with your body of happiness. With half of warmers rest all the time in God's energy brain. God's energy brain needs your mental and emotional emptiness. So finally, hello my dear, this will be enough for today. Thank you very much.